Hello everyone and welcome to Asana Deconstructed. This is where we're gonna study a particular pose. We will talk about its benefits, its main actions. We'll talk about the proper alignment for the pose to prevent injuries. And we will also discuss how we can prepare for the pose. And once we're in a pose, how we can increase or decrease a certain asana, a certain pose. So for today's episode, I chose standing forward fold. It's called Uttanasana in Sanskrit. It's a very commonly used asana in many yoga sequences and yoga practices. It is also commonly used for stretching by runners, people who do weightlifting and other fitness exercises. So it made all sense to start our new series with this pose. So let's get on our mats. So what is a standing forward fold? Standing forward fold's main action is lengthening of hamstrings and calf muscles, and its secondary action is stretching of your back muscles. So let's talk about the main action. In order for our hamstrings to relax and therefore lengthen, we have to engage the antagonist group muscles, which are quadriceps. Once we engage the quads, let's say by straightening the knees, the brain will send the signal to hamstring muscles to relax. Lowering your trunk forward will engage your hip and trunk flexors, which in turn sends signal to your glutes, to your gluteals, to relax. So you will also receive a very delicious glute stretch. When we fold forward, we tilt our pelvis forward to create the condition where our back, our spine remains long and straight. Tilted pelvis means our sitting bones are being sent to the sky, being sent upward, which again helps create this elongation in hamstring muscles, helps stretch the glutes, and as well relax the back muscles. So let's talk about the benefits. A standing forward fold is a type of inversion. That means that your heart is at a higher level than your head. And what that means is that all the fluids in your upper body are sent in an opposite direction. And as we know, the areas or cells that receive more blood receive more energy, receive more food. It also stimulates your lymphatic system. So overall, it really calms the brain. It also helps with depression, mild depression. I'm not obviously talking about clinically established depressions or very severe cases. It helps you with insomnia, and it reduces fatigue. It can help your digestion, and it stimulates liver and kidneys, the organs that are located in the abdominal cavity, in the abdominal area. And for obvious reasons, it also strengthens your knees, and as we mentioned before, it stretches your hamstring and calf muscles and back muscles. And as in any practice or exercise, we have to be extremely mindful of existing conditions like back injuries, shoulder injuries, knee injuries, high or low blood pressure. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot practice this pose. You just have to be very cautious and listen to your body. Maybe come out of the pose if you notice some unpleasant, discomforting sensations, or maybe don't go in a full expression of the pose, which I will explain in the next few minutes. So as I promised, I will explain how you can prepare for the pose and how you can practice it different ways depending on your body ability today. As always, I love prop. I think it's great, and I think it can really help enrich the pose and, let's say, enhance our physical ability if we're not there yet. So to prepare and practice for the pose, you may need a chair with a bag at your hip level, or a ledge. It could be a windowsill or a table, but the main thing is that surface is at your hip level. And another prop you may need is a folded blanket, not a squishy, not a fluffy one, or a yoga mat. So let's start with our first preparatory pose. Stand in front of your support, place your forearms along the ledge or the back of the chair and your forehead on your forearms. Step away with your feet to allow for the trunk to be fully extended. Keep your feet together, or to decrease this pose, you can open your feet about hip distance apart. Make sure your hips are right above your ankles. Engage your abdominal muscles to protect your lower back. If you have any sciatic nerve irritation, you can open the heels to soften the pose. So heels out, toes in. Your quadriceps are active to protect your knee from overextension. To increase this pose, step back and place your hands on the ledge or the back of your chair. So you're pressing into your palms, back is straight, and abdomens are active to protect your lower back. The same principle, you can take the heels out if you have a sciatic nerve irritation. Come out of this pose, turn the chair around or grab a chair if you were using a ledge, and sit on the edge of the chair. You can prop it against the wall to prevent from sliding. Feet flexed and start bending forward. So it's in a way a supported, seated forward fold. Make sure your back, your spine is long and there is no rounding in the lower back. We're staying in each preparatory pose for at least 30 seconds. That's about 5 to 6 breaths. Another variation to prepare is a full forward fold in a seated position. So feet flexed, and the same principle. We start bending forward, keeping our spine straight, no rounding in the lower back. Abdominal muscles engaged to help flexion of your trunk. To facilitate the seated fold, you can use a folded mat like I'm doing, or have your blankets and place them on your quads, pressing against your abs, and forward fold from that. So let's come to standing and use the first variation of a standing forward fold, where we place the mat or the blanket at the creases, hip creases, and start hinging from the hips forward, keeping your hips right above your ankles. Once your blanket or the mat catches between your thighs and your trunk, you can release your hands to the ground. If this is too intense, you can bend your knees. Or you can also connect your hands to the opposite elbows, which is a more relaxing variation for your back, so-called ragdoll expression. Come back to standing, slowly rolling the spine to upward position. And let's do without any prop. So feet hip distance apart, grab your elbows above your head, and start hinging from the hips. Bend your knees to facilitate the bend. See if you can straighten your knees at least a little bit by engaging your quads. If you remain in the position with your knees bent, make sure that your kneecaps are not passing past your toes. To come out, bend your knees, roll your back vertebra by vertebra back to standing. So let's try one more enhancement where we use our hands. Feet hip distance apart, inhale, arms overhead, fingers closed, exhale, bend your knees, hinge from your hips, and place your hands in front of your feet. Neck and head are relaxed. Engage your abdominal muscles and see if you can flex your trunk deeper forward, and if your sitting bones can move upwards a little bit. To enhance further, slide your hands at the sides of your feet or a little bit to the back. Keep your abdominal muscles engaged. Engage your quads and see if you can straighten your knees. If your knees remain bent, Please make sure that your kneecaps are not past your ankles. Give it one more try engaging your abdominal muscles and your quadriceps, and see if you can straighten your knees. Gentle repetition of this action will eventually send a signal to your hamstrings to relax and give in. The signal of danger will subside, and your knees will eventually straighten. Modification to this pose: you can grab your ankles from the back. That will help flexion of the trunk, or you can also grab your heels. Remember, the neck and head are relaxed because that provides for a nice decompression and relaxation of your spine. Release your arms. Maybe place them for a second in front of your feet. Bend your knees and roll back to standing, one vertebra at a time. Neck and head go last. So the final modification, enhancement for this pose is when your feet are together. Inhale, arms overhead, fingers closed. Exhale, forward fold. Keep your abs engaged, hips are right above your ankles, and quads are engaged as well to straighten your knees. See if you can attempt to slide your hands forward. That will create more flexion of the trunk. Neck relaxed. To come out, we're gonna bend our knees again and roll slowly, one vertebra at a time. Head and neck go last. So this is all I have for the standing forward fold for you today. A brief summary: please stay in the prep stage until your muscles loosen up and give in. Keep each pose for 20 to 30 seconds, which is about 4 to 6 smooth breaths. Slowly come out of the pose if you suddenly feel dizzy or lightheaded or feel any discomfort. And the last one, which is appropriate for any yoga practice: do not force any pose. Do not force your body into any position. Gradually increase the pose, learn to listen to your body, and it will take you where it needs to be. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon at one of my yoga sessions. Be healthy and be safe.